real nerd. People say I'm a fool, but they never got the news that I'm a vile one. Oh yeah, I'm a vile one. You better turn it up, better keep the channel down, cause you're watching VileMike and his real wild child. Oh yeah, I'm a vile one. You better turn it up, better keep the channel down, cause you're watching VileMike and his real wild child.
Howdy, folkses, and while I was playing the theme song, Elihu joined me. How you doing, man?
I think I'm here physically, but never mentally.
And literally, while I was saying that to Elihu, I sold another thing on eBay. I'm happy.
Yay! What did you sell?
Another one of the books of Bill. I literally picked up 3 of them last night, and 2 of them already sold.
Ka-ching!
So, and to address the thumbnail, yeah. I sent that to both Elihu and NB after it happened. I think it was the day after it happened.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys remember the story I told last week about what happened at the Walmart. Well, after I finished working at Walmart, literally while I'm trying to do paperwork to meet Mrs. Vile, because Mrs. Vile was actually shopping at the Ross nearby, someone walks up to me and goes, "Can I give you a flyer?" And I'm like, "Depends entirely on what it is." It's about voting. And I'm like, is it about just encouraging people to vote, or is there something attached to that? And she goes, "I don't know what you mean." And I'm like, fine, I'll take a look at it. And that's what she hands me. And I'm like, oh, I was kind of dumbfounded. I'm like, are you serious? And she goes, oh, yes. She's going to destroy America. And I'm like, okay, how is she going to destroy America? And she goes, I really don't have time to get in with it. I've got my grandchildren to watch. And she starts to walk away. And I'm like, lady, you walked up to me and you're handing these out apparently while you're trying to watch your grandkids. And she goes, well, if you're going to act like that, why don't you just hand me the flyer back? And I was like, fuck you. And I crumpled it up and I threw it on the floor of my van, which is why it looks the way it does. And then she got really upset with me, and I responded with another fuck you. And she was like, oh, yeah, just like you types using that kind of language. And again, I'm like, lady, again, you came up to me. I didn't come up to you. I'm not forcing you to do anything. And she basically just got upset and walked away. But yeah, same exact store as what happened last week.
Yeah, I know down the line. Your types?
Well, okay, she didn't actually say you types. She said something along the lines of, you extreme leftist liberals or something along those lines. I'm kind of paraphrasing parts of the story. So yeah, don't worry, Richie. That was not that was not my point of view. Now, and the craziest part is I don't have the note with me right now. I think I threw it away, or because I am in the van because I'm with Mrs. Vile. She's shopping. Dang, I don't know what I did with it. But at the bottom of that note, it says for like. I sent it to you, Elihu. Don't you have it?
Yeah, somewhere. I saved it on my file somewhere. I gotta dig for it, but I don't feel like doing it right now.
Okay. Well, it said something along the lines of to get the real story or something like that, watch Newsmax and Fox News at the very bottom, which is cut off on the
Newsmax, ONN, and Fox News.
Does it actually say ONN? I didn't remember that.
I believe it says ONN.
See, even Elihu noticed something I didn't. So yeah,
subject change.
yeah, you want to talk about the clips because you posted that?
Oh no, not that. Well, yeah, but that too. Have you seen the new Star Wars Lego?
Depends on what you mean, because I've seen some Star Wars Lego stuff at Walmart.
No, the new TV show.
No, I didn't know there was a TV show. I know there's a couple of movies, like short movies.
Yeah, there's
because
this new.
I sold one on eBay.
Yeah, there's this new little episodic Star Wars, Lego Star Wars. It totally retells the whole entire Star Wars story universe. It recaps all 9 movies in 1 minute and fit in 48 seconds. I love that. I'm like, wow, that's a great recap. And everything you know about Star Wars, you don't know anymore. Everything changed. Everything changed.
Okay, I'll have to take a more look at it. And Dandelion, it's not the fact that there's they don't need more border agents. They need more ports of entry. I mean, San Diego is a massive metropolitan area, and we have 2 points of entry.
San Ysidro and what's the other, Nogales?
Otay Mesa, or Otay.
Oh, sorry.
And Otay is like half the size of San Ysidro.
Yeah. Yeah, just never. By the way, never go to McDonald's in San Ysidro. You'll be there for 45 minutes waiting for a Big Mac. I mean, for a hamburger. Okay, that line is always long.
Are you talking about the one that on the American side or on the
the American side? The American side. It is always long.
Well, because I did do that one video where there's a McDonald's very close to the Otay border crossing in Mexico, and that's when I got the McDonald's for that because Yvette suggested it.
Mm.
So, and you can take your time, NB.
No problem. By the way, you posted that several minutes ago, and your time is up. That was 8:08. You posted that. Your time is up. Minute's over, man.
Oh, well, he can take his time. We're not in any hurry. Right now, Mrs. Vile's in a Walmart because I refuse to walk into a Walmart when I'm not working there. and the stream is just a pleasant excuse this time.
What the fuck parallel world am I in? It's 8:15 in the morning, and the Vile child just said boo.
I just saw that. Yeah.
What is she doing? What is this? A Twilight Zone?
I don't know.
It's crazy. This is like
Hi, Bob.
In a row.
Yeah.
Hi, Bob.
I'm like, holy shit! What the hell? Oh, she's sleeping.
Hold on, Elijah. You got to respond to him.
No, he responded to me first. I respond. No.
I didn't hear him say it. I didn't hear him say it. Sorry. I apologize.
No, he said it first.
And Richie, as for the dark side, it depends entirely on what you mean by dark side.
Chocolate? Yes. Dark chocolate? Yes.
Because I'm for sure on the Vile side.
I think people told me that basically dark chocolate, I used to hear people call it European chocolate.
Basically, yeah. Yes. European chocolate has very little sugar and tastes a hell of a lot better than American chocolate. Just like they have the Flamin' Hot Cheetos. They don't have any artificial flavors or colors. They have all natural shit there in France. We have the artificial shit here. It sucks.
Blame the FDA.
Sorry, I like Jordan's comment. Hey, keep it down. I'm trying to listen to the neighbors fight in the front yard.
Oh, Lord.
And I definitely agree with that one, Dandelion. I'm on the side of cookies, too, especially Vile cookies. I got to stick to the brand.
Marijuana cookies?
Oh, those
or
are
computer cookies?
I've told you, Elihu, I don't do THC. It hits me too hard.
Yeah, I know.
He's one of those guys.
Yeah.
Yep. I can drink like a fish. I can do other powdery type things that don't have much of an effect. painkillers, I'm fine. But THC hits me like a Mack truck.
Yeah, blow smoke in your face. You turn into Matthew McConaughey. Hey, wash the floor mats.
Oh, no. Elihu, I become emotional. You have to understand, I am slightly sociopathic. I don't have a good connection with my emotions, especially complex emotions. So when I get emotional, it's weird.
Ah.
Is that a redheaded stripper? I can believe it.
I thought she was type sleeping.
But yeah, because Mrs. Vile has basically done something similar to SD GameSwap. She's starting to sell stuff on Facebook Marketplace, and now she has decided to basically sell some stuff by buying it in the States and selling it down in Mexico. Stuff that makes more money. That's why she's up here shopping.
You know, I'm still looking for the Harry Potter
minute.
Kinder eggs.
So it's legal to take it across the border.
Yep.
Oh God. Well, can we do that with about 10 million items? Oops, did I
And Darren, since you're here, what are your thoughts about the New Jersey?
What do you mean?
Well, because I know some people were upset about it, some people are happy about it. What are your thoughts as a submariner?
Oh, I thought you meant the state.
What about it?
You're talking about the solar power, the electric submarine, or the co-ed submarine? Which one?
That's the co-ed one. As I said, as a submariner, I just wanted his opinion.
Ah.
Okay. Well, I don't know what you're talking about. So can you please explain?
Oh, the New Jersey was commissioned. It's going to be the first co-ed submarine.
It's not, though. We already have unified crews. Co-ed refers to school. It doesn't refer to the military. Yeah, we've already got integrated crews on several submarines already, mostly the SSGN types.
That's what I thought, Caddy.
So what you're telling me is Twitter was wrong?
Oh
Yeah. It's not the first. It's not the first male and female crewed submarine.
No,
it might be the first male and female crewed attack submarine, but it's not the first submarine.
They've had women on board before,
or it might be. Or
Well, I know they've had female officers on subs for what, like 20 years at this point?
Almost 20 years. Yeah, that started about 5 or 6 years after I got out.
Yeah, and what the proper termination, well, since these, it's interesting you brought that up because I am so sick of there's no editors left in anywhere, because the proper context would have been, this is probably maybe the first attack commission sub to be
Right. Yeah, because generally speaking, the attack subs they don't have space for, as originally designed, for two different sexes, two different birthing compartments. Because women need privacy from men, and men need privacy from women. It's just they have to have a place to change where nobody, somebody of the opposite can't look at them.
Maybe that episode of Jag.
And it was in my day, in the 20th century, the submarines were an all male service, and that was actually kind of perceived as a perk in the 90s, that we didn't have to, it was the one place left in the Navy where women weren't present. I mean, I got out after serving for over 4 years, and I never saluted a female officer. And when I say that, of course, college girls go, "Why not?" And I'm like, because there weren't any. I was in subs, whereas very, very few other people in the Navy could say that. But no, I mean, again, the service as it exists right now is very different than the one that I served in. I guess they're making it work, but I don't know. I'm not in that world.
Some cases they are, some cases they're not. Depends on which.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, when
I do appreciate the additional context, Darren, because you know more about that world than I do.
Hey, Caddy. So when I got out at my 20 years, I knew at my 18-year mark, I'm like, even if I was allowed to stay longer than 20 years, I was like, my time is done. And that's something that you saw a lot of issues with people who just would stay in longer than they needed to. Or and the thing was, in the Air Force, you'd see this a lot. The person would leave the job on Friday, come back, go on, start their terminal leave, and then come back on Monday, do the same job as a contractor. And I'm like, no. I said that I flirted with the idea for like 5 minutes, and I'm like, no. And like, when I'm done, I'm done. It's like high school. When I'm done, I'm out.
Yeah. But I mean, the whole thing with women on subs, it didn't seem like it was done to make them more efficient. It seems like it was done basically because they had to do it. They had to open it up to females because they weren't making by the aughts their recruiting goals. I mean, it's already difficult to get people to join now because it's been made so unpopular in the pop culture. But then they had to open up to females because they were and the thing is that I talked to a guy who had served on the Washington within the last 5 years. And he said, it's totally different now. He says when a new recruit comes to a submarine, they aren't put through the what we call the vetting process. They're not put through the weeding out of undesirables because they don't get very many anymore, and so they have to somehow make that new sailor work. And so a lot of the ceremonies and things that we used to do in the 90s aren't done anymore. A lot of the terms that we used to call people who come to the submarine unqualified, we used to call them nubs. You can't do that anymore. If the wrong person hears it or the right person, depending on who you talk to, there's serious penalties, things like that. So it's all about adapt or die at this point. So
in the Marine Corps we call them boots. I got called a boot for the first 2 years because that's that was one of the things. And when were you in exactly?
95 to 95, 2000.
Okay, I came in 98. Right at 98. And one of the things I will say is when I would hear people complain. Now, I did not care for the Captain Marvel movie that came out years ago, but that's completely for different reasons. But when I saw people acting like, why are these pilots or why are these female pilots acting so like this, and why are the men being so like this? I'm like, because that's how it fucking was. I'm like, I'm sorry, that's how it fucking was. We didn't start really changing the sexism route of it until about the 2000s was when they started really clamping down on that shit.
Well, you had a situation where a lot of areas of our armed forces like to pride themselves on keeping things the same. It's the same boot camp experience that I had, my dad had 20 years ago, that kind of thing. And but these changes are made because by the higher ups, because the higher ups can see things that the rest of the fleet doesn't see, and it's that's why.
What was that? What was it? Strategic, tactical, and the guys at the top were what they were. I didn't care because they were all 4-star generals, and I wanted nothing to do with them. I didn't like talking to anybody who was above the rank of a lieutenant colonel.
But So.
Well, to continue the military bit a little bit, I don't know if I told you guys, but one of my daughters actually joined the ROTC in her high school and has joined the drill team.
Nice.
And as of right now, her plan is to go into the service if she can convince her mom to let her. And don't. I know that it's her decision, but if she, her mom's kind of against it.
Yeah. Well, my dad didn't give me permission when I was 18, but shit, I just asked. Last week excommunicated him.
But I told her that, when it comes to me, I'm proud of her for doing so, because, I wanted to serve. My mother served, my father served, both my grandfathers served. So, and I even encouraged a certain child of mine who's on the panel right now to join, even though she never had any inkling to do so.
It's a shame my disability prevented me from serving in the Navy and the Air Force.
I'm a theater kid, meh.
When females were first introduced into the fleet, there were a lot of problems. I can't remember the name of the ship, but they brought 50 females on board, and 28 of them had to leave within 6 months because they got pregnant underway. There's prostitution on aircraft carriers. For favors and things that happens. It might have gotten better, more recently. I don't know, but that was a problem. That was a problem. That was a problem in the surface fleet that the submarines didn't have because we were all male. But
I was going to argue against that.
And we were all hetero male. That's another factor that has to be taken into consideration.
Well, I know you just quantified that with the hetero male, but I can tell you my dad had told me that there was a form of prostitution going on the ships back in the 80s too, and the 70s.
No, what I'm talking about is, I think this was about the time, I don't know if Don't Ask, Don't Tell had been started at that point.
90s,
yeah, but basically
that was a Clinton era.
That was a Clinton
innovation.
That
93,
was like stopgap
something like that.
Yeah, remember I made that reference, Elihu, about For All Mankind, what President, what was it?
Whitmore did and Clinton did in the 90s,
Yeah, and I was like, that was a very interesting comparison because she was, one of the things Clinton was going under, and I don't mean to bring up politics, but this does have to relate to the service, was this was basically a stopgap. This was like, oh, we'll kick the can down the road.
Yeah.
And then
everybody knew that everybody knew it was a gateway decision to eventually just allowing them to serve openly.
When I was in, Don't Ask, Don't Tell got repealed under Obama. And yes, I will give him credit for that because he did it. And there was a lot of people. I mean, by this point, you knew who was and who wasn't. They just couldn't talk about it. We couldn't talk about it. And it was finally nice to be able to have a conversation with, like, for example, I was doing a detail one day. We were doing security detail, and I was down there with another sergeant, female, actually a couple others. Female, she said she was getting picked up, and she says something about, I asked her, is your husband picking up? She goes, I'm married to a woman. I was like, oh, how long you been married? And I was like, it was nice, these were nice things that they could have these conversations open. And it meant a lot to them. I mean, some of them I saw really took a weight off their chests. And I think it took a weight off of a lot of leadership because.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you look at how it was treated, yes, they had a secret that could get them kicked out immediately, even if they hadn't assaulted anybody, if they hadn't, all they had to do is tell the right person, I like guys or I like girls, and they were gone. So
or like in G.I. Jane where it was just the hint of it could be enough to get you kicked out.
Yeah, well, I mean, generally speaking, you had to. The reason why it was called "Don't Ask, Don't Tell" was because you had to admit it in order to get kicked out. And so you couldn't be accused of it. I mean, if you were caught in the act, that was one thing. But generally speaking, it just meant, all it meant was that we will no longer on entrance exams, we will no longer ask you what your sexuality is, but we still don't allow non-heteros in. So if you demonstrated it, or if you admitted to it or said it, you could be let out. Now each command is different, but that was how it was instituted in the 90s. in the Navy. In the Navy anyway. I don't know about Marine Corps or Air Force, but
yeah. Well, I kind of want to talk about this one thing real quick with Dandelion. I don't know if that's not entirely accurate. Yes, they did have them, but however, also, the R word, the men doing that to the soldiers that they captured was not because it was a homoerotic act. It was considered basically humiliating them.
All right, let's change the subject.
Yeah,
I was going to change the subject real quick, but if you want to finish,
Hey, don't forget
looking
up. Don't forget to look up Tuesday night for the partial lunar eclipse. Everybody in North America.
Yeah, nice.
only partial. Bah.
Yeah, if you have clear skies, look up. I put the link for time and date, so you guys can put your location in there, so you guys can find out exactly when to look up.
Sorry, my brain really wanted to call Elihu an astrology nerd, but that technically isn't correct.
It'd be astronomy nerd.
I know.
If he was talking about being a Gemini or some shit, then it would be.
I ain't no twin. I ain't no twin. I'm just me.
I don't
I'm
give
the
a shit.
history and politics. I'm the history and politics guy.
Yes.
Because Dandelion's pointing out that it's going to be at about 7:45 our time, because I think she's in our same time zone. Maybe, I'm not saying I will right now, but maybe I'll bring up your siblings and maybe we can try to watch it before I take them back down.
I'm a Libra.
But what I wanted to change the subject to was to Elihu's comment, because it had me thinking, if you had free tickets for the people on the panel and you could only go see one of these two movies, which one would you want to go see?
Fantastic Four. I actually was rather impressed with the trailer. I was rather shocked. I mean, I did not think Pedro Pascal would. I mean, nobody wanted him as Reed Richards, but I kind of like the 60s style setting. I like the feel of it.
We don't know if that 60s style is even going to be in the film.
It's actually been confirmed. It is in the 60s.
Based on everything we know. I mean, I personally am more interested in the Legacy Superman thing at this point. But I mean, I don't have a lot of enthusiasm for either of those two movies. But again, there was a time when Fantastic Four would have been automatic for me, but I don't care for Pedro Pascal very much, and so I'll have to wait and see what people think first.
Well, I mean, we haven't exactly. I mean, let's be honest. They haven't gotten the first family right in 3 movies. Actually, the best time they ever got the first family right was that unreleased one that you can find on YouTube.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
the Roger Corman one that they made just so they could retain the rights. Yeah,
exactly. And then they showed, and the actors I remember saying, "Dude, we didn't know that this was going to get shelved." I mean, I even remember the trailer coming out for it.
Yeah, I'll never forget going to Comic-Con and seeing that people selling bootlegs of that movie, and I never actually bought one because they were asking like $50 to $200 for it, and this is back in 90s currency.
Oh God, no! Hell no.
Yeah. But no, the Fantastic Four is one of these things that it's very much a product of the 60s, and so you have to not only have the aesthetic, but you also have to have some of the sensibilities of the 60s too, in order to make it, at least not to make it to make it accurate. And if it's not accurate, it's going to lose a lot of its charm. So
well,
I don't have a lot of faith in that film. Like I don't have a lot of faith in Marvel right now. So yeah, but
yeah, I can definitely believe that. I just think, God damn, man, how much money did they have to give Robert Downey Jr. to come back?
$100 million.
Did they really?
It was between 90 and 100 million.
That's for the 3 movies, right?
Yeah, to play the role of Doom, 90 to 100 million was reported.
Whew.
Which
desperate.
Which is weird because I don't know what the plan is or anything, of course, but they could have had him just do the voice, because if they're showing, if they're going with an authentic Doom, he's got a face like Freddy Krueger. You could have put anybody in there and just used his voice, but I don't know what they're doing. So
I would like to see the opening for this to be like, because most people seem to always think of Doom as a villain. People forget that in his country, he's a freaking hero. And
Doom, Dr. Doom was one of the direct inspirations for Darth Vader too, and that's how important the character was. If you look back when we had Wizard magazine, every year they would do a top 10 all-time villains in comics, and he was always in the top 3, usually duking it out with usually duking it out with Lex Luthor and the Joker. So that's how big of a deal he was over at on Marvel's side. But we just don't know at this point. That's why I'm waiting before I give it up or down. But I have seen some things that are interesting to me with Superman Legacy. I love the fact that they went to the Ohio or the Cincinnati Union Station to film the Hall of Justice.
Oh, nice.
That to me is because that's the building that the Hall of Justice was based on. So that is interesting to me that they're doing that.
Caddy, you were going to try to say something.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to point out that most likely the reason why he was able to get paid so much is because a lot of companies are willing to pay a lot for big name actors in that field. And as you see with his role as Iron Man, he became very, very well known. And so those bigger stars will bring in more crowds purely because their name is on there. I actually can use an example of this. There were 2 Great Gatsby musicals released around the same time. One is not on Broadway. One will most likely never get to Broadway, despite it being arguably the better Great Gatsby musical, as it adheres more to the source text.
Right.
The other one.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
The other one got powered to Broadway almost entirely, and I will say this: yes, it has some amazing songs, but as a Great Gatsby musical, it's iffy. As a musical, it's fine.
Well, I was going to say they tried that. Sorry, I was going to say they tried that name recognition with Robert Downey Jr. and Dr. Dolittle reboot. It bombed. It didn't work. Name recognition did not work.
No, name recognition. No, here's the thing. Name recognition does not work anymore. Caddy, we've had this conversation. The 3-4 of us have had this conversation. I don't know how many times. And
this time is because it's in the same genre that he is already well known in.
Exactly. He's in the genre. Yeah, so he's known. Well, when Robert Downey Jr., before he did Iron Man, he was pretty much damaged goods.
Yeah, everyone was saying he's never going to work at Hollywood ever again. He's ruined his career.
Right.
Yeah, and then he came out and he played Iron Man because, he he had a drug problem. He went. Did he go to prison for a little while too?
He might have. I remember he was in and out all
did.
the time. He back then he just couldn't keep anything out of his nose. So
Yeah. So his career was in the toilet at this point. He was all about blackballed in Hollywood.
I think he blacklisted.
Listed, not blackballed.
Also, I want to say that the 2 musicals are quite literally called. I want to say it's Great Gatsby or The Great Gatsby, a new musical, and the other one is just titled Gatsby. I want you to guess which one is currently on Broadway.
Gatsby.
It's Gatsby.
Yeah, I heard that. I heard of that one. Gatsby.
All right, double the points for Elihu.
And I truly kind of believe that the main reason it got to Broadway so quickly is because of who is playing its lead actor.
Could that be Jeremy fucking Jordan?
It is. And you have to understand, within the theater, theater fans, Jeremy is held in kind of revered. He's what a lot of tenors strive to be. He is very much someone that is looked up to within the theater community. Even down to the college he went to. A lot of people are like, oh, I'm going to the same college as Jeremy Jordan. I'm going to make it.
Yeah,
am
I'm
not
going to
kidding.
Juilliard. I'm going to make it. Yeah, right.
Yeah, no, I am
Mhm.
not kidding. There have been stories of people who have went to the same college. I don't remember what college it was. And apparently the theater kids there were insufferable because of Jeremy Jordan's fucking existence.
Oh boy.
I would have liked to have seen Ewan McClellan when he did a Shakespeare play. I'd have paid money. I'd been like, just take my fucking money.
Sir Ian McKellen.
Jeremy and McClellan, I knew you were going to do that. Sorry, I was.
Give the man honor and respect.
But yeah, I would have loved to have seen that. There are so many people I would have liked to have seen who do theater because, I mean, there is something about doing it live and the fact that you're playing the same role, but you got to make sure you get your passion and everything. You want to get into your character. You really get into it. The costumes always look amazing. When I saw Jekyll and Hyde, when my grandmother took me to see that, that was the first professional play I ever saw, and I freaking loved it. And then my grandma ruins the death scene for me about 30 seconds before it happens. She's like, what? Yeah, my grandmother was like, whispered over at me, she dies. She dies soon. I'm like, well, now I do.
Yeah, I'll never forget going. The first play I ever went to was Around the World in 80 Days, and it was part of a school field trip. And to this day, I still look. I don't even know who played the person, but the person playing Passepartout was like giving it his all for us freaking students. I mean, the whole auditorium was nothing but students, but he was like going all out. It was still amazing when I think about it.
Yeah.
Only time.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Derek.
I was just going to add that, yes, a production live on stage has a tendency to suck you in a way that even a really engaging film will not, because it's right there. It's,
Yeah, you're just there. You're watching
it's
live.
Yeah, it's the best kind of 3D. It's like,
And it's like, people who don't understand theater, they're just on stage. I'm like, if you are only thinking about the stage, you are not paying attention.
Yeah.
It's like you don't.
Considering all the people in the back that have to coordinate and plan everything out and make sure that, everything's going. Both my younger daughters, Caddy's sisters, for their little brother's play, they recently did Seussical the Musical. And because they had been familiar with it, they volunteered to act as, the lighting and music and stuff like that.
I hated BOS work.
Yeah, you've got to. I mean, think about it. You got to have the costume designers, the cleaners.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. What did you call
VHS work.
Tech?
Yeah, the tech support.
Yeah,
they're
VHS.
called tech.
Behind the scene.
Yeah, they're called tech.
The makeup people.
Yeah, we just call VHS in high school.
There's all kinds of people behind that scene.
He was giving you an archaic, outdated term.
A lot of people refer to them as tech or techies because a lot of times they get just referred to as the tech crew.
Oh, the techs were the lighting and sound. Everybody else was
nowadays it's anyone who is behind the crew.
By the way, Vile, I just want to say thank you for streaming this morning as you did. This stream saved me from having to listen to any more of Salty Trekker try to explain why an injection in the necks of the Strange New Worlds crew that turns them temporarily into Vulcans is perfectly fine for their hairstyles to change as well. You'll never guess his rationale on this. It was such a headache and nosebleed inducing thing to listen to. He said that it's perfectly fine if Uhura magically gets dreads because she got an injection because their ears changed shape. And I'm like, yeah, and it was like, you want to tell him that an ear changing shape is not the same thing as creating a hairstyle that requires some effort and some time in a salon to achieve. But of course, he lets everybody use the chat, and he gets to speak on his.
Well, didn't even in Next Generation when Data and Picard go in undercover as Romulans, didn't they have to go to Mott the barber?
Yes, they had to have their hair pieces designed because on that show it was all done through cosmetic surgery and it was literally described as cosmetic surgery and essentially makeup. On Strange New Worlds, they think they're being clever by having it all being done with injections. But they want to do the same things that TNG did, but their injections idea doesn't enable them to do, believably what TNG did. But Salty being so totally in the tank for with Strange New Worlds is willing to rationalize anything, and as we all know, rationalization is the second strongest human drive. So he has convinced himself that because their ears changed shape, their hair can get shorter or longer.
Be right back. Make coffee.
And that a complex hairstyle like dreadlocks can just happen.
Well, it doesn't make sense also because hair is dead.
Right, I know.
I mean,
it's not alive.
Below the skin, it's just dead keratin. I mean, it's not. There's no injection that could change that.
Right, and he further said, well, Pike's eyebrows, their eyebrows changed, the Vulcan eyebrows. I'm like, that doesn't help your position. That's even worse. We're not just fixating on the dreadlocks here. It's the whole idea that hairstyles will change because something got shot into your neck.
All right, go ahead, Daddy.
Is the hairstyle change important to the story?
No,
at all.
They could have been Vulcans without the hairstyle change.
Okay, then I have another retort for you. Then suspend your disbelief. And if it's not important and it's not breaking the story, it doesn't matter. Let him have fun.
Okay, well, that is one way to look at it, certainly. But the fact that it can't be, Star Trek used to be smarter than this, and it's not anymore. And he's just not gonna accept anything, any sort of negative for what he has now decided is his favorite show. And
again, I haven't seen it, so here's my idea. Is it possible that, and maybe they didn't show this, did the hair just actually change, or did the hair fall out and then grow into those new hairstyles?
No. This is what they did. They fell to the floor, and then off camera it changed. And when they all stood up, their hairstyles were changed. They had different things in their hair, like different barrettes. It was not logically consistent, and I'm not saying that ironically because we're dealing with Vulcans here. The bigger problem really than the cosmetic change was that the Vulcans, they acted like Vulcans, meaning they acted like Vulcans who had trained themselves to control their emotions. When that has been established, to require a lengthy time of conditioning, because Vulcan emotions are more intense than human emotions. That's why they act the way they do. They should have been ranting and raving and going crazy like Picard was in the episode Sarek, where he took on Sarek's emotions. But because the writing team, either they don't know or they don't care. Either one is bad. But and of course, again, you bring up these logical inconsistencies. Some people get upset.
Question really quick.
Certainly.
Well, the thing is, Caddy, is when it comes to Star Trek, I mean,
you just steamrolled right over the little girl.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to.
And I don't mean to call you a little girl. I don't know how old you are, but
fun fact, I am a full-fledged adult.
Okay, gotcha. Sorry.
No, it's fine. I don't really care.
Okay.
Physically, not mentally.
Yeah, actually, in less than 6 months, she'll be old enough to drink.
Yeah, but my question for you is, was it fully stated that they changed their species? Like, they were entirely straight up Vulcans?
Yes.
Or was it
and-
a cosmetic change, so they could have just been
No.
acting?
No, the way Strange New Worlds has decided to disguise the members of the crew when they go down to a planet disguised as aliens, instead of going through cosmetic surgery, is they basically say, as they say, mess with your genome, where they temporarily change your race into that alien. It's temporary, and it wears off, but that's what they do. And again, the Vulcans are a hard one to do anyway, because they have their heart where their liver is supposed to be. They've got all kinds of anatomy issues, which you could say, okay, those organs are sliding around inside them. Maybe that's how it happens. But for something that's basically they're wearing to change, which is what we're seeing here, it's like that can't happen thanks to an injection. It just can't.
Odd question.
Well, based on what you hold on, sweetheart. Based on what Darren said, I kind of agree with him. But I haven't seen the episode. I haven't seen any of Strange New Worlds because this current season.
The episode hasn't come out yet. It was a sneak peek scene, and of course, that was another thing that Salty Trekker said was unfair, was that we can't judge the episode on a sneak peek scene. I said, I'm not judging it on. Let's see, I'm judging the scene on the scene. And the writing was just, there was other issues I had with it, but but that was the big thing, was that the mental gymnastics that he was trying to do in order to wave off that criticism was just the amount of cognitive dissonance on display was just amazing to me. But
Sometimes you might have to turn off your brain for certain things, because Trex has done that many times.
yes,
But like. And it, like Caddy was saying, if it works in the story, I can forgive it a little bit while still being pissed off about the bad science, because I do that a lot in Star Trek.
Right.
And sometimes I have to turn off the analytical side of my brain entirely to enjoy something. Like one of my favorite bad movies is The Core, and it is just chock full of bad science.
Right. Yeah, and I watch Star Trek these days the same way the crew of the U-boat in Das Boat ate their moldy steaks. Remember that scene where they had steaks that had mold on them? They would just eat around the mold. That's kind of how I watch Star Trek now. Is that way?
Again, my general thought with like something that is clearly wrong in a show is if it doesn't directly interrupt what is happening in the story, then you should be able to suspend your disbelief for it. If it is actively being a plot hole, yes, have all the issues you want with it. But if it is not directly being a nuisance to the plot, something that is very clearly wrong, why is it a problem?
The fact that they didn't act like Vulcans who had never received Vulcan training, that was the more grievous of error, because that was a change for plot contrivance. But I mean, again, they go together because it was all in the same scene.
Yeah,
I think there's not an issue with bringing that up at all.
No, I do agree. I agree with the entire point of them not acting like Vulcans, or them acting like Vulcans who have received training despite not. My only response could be, I don't know, maybe the Federation has decided to give them Vulcan training for some fucking reason. I don't know.
Well, you can't give somebody training with an injection, at least not as in the established way that works.
Yeah.
In the established canon for Star Trek, hold on, sweetheart. Basically, Vulcans have stronger emotions than humans. They just keep them in check, because otherwise they'd be more
Romulan.
Yeah, they'd be going full tilt the entire time.
The whole reason they suppressed their emotions was because of Sarek's teachings, and because their world was violent. And logic saved them, and it's been established in canon and throughout Star Trek lore pretty much since the beginning. I mean, even in what was it? In Voyager, the one episode where Tuvok is going through Pon Farr, and Paris comes in and he's like, I think you guys would be better at this at your age. And then he mentions the Vulcan male libido gets stronger as you get older.
Hold on, sorry.
This does remind me, at least with the how Vulcans work, because I can kind of equate it to something I've written already. I wrote a story with a decent amount of world building that was based on the idea that werewolves were the main like people of the world, but werewolves had their own like caste society. I got bored. This is what I did, and the higher
No,
tier
I'm
of werewolves.
just pointing out Dandelion's prescient comment right there.
Oh no, that's the entire point.
What is it with chicks and werewolves these days? I
I
mean,
don't know, maybe they got bored with the vampires. They want to
They want Team Jacob.
They're all into bestialty, apparently. I don't know.
But no,
It's just weird. They're all obsessed
the
with them.
entire point with the werewolves was that they had a arguably what you can consider blood society, with the color of your blood determining how high ranked you were. But the only issue is that the higher ranked people of the society with the rarer blood types were had more intense emotions. And so they were taught from a younger age how to control said emotions so they wouldn't cause harm to that society. Because they were seen to be bigger, stronger, and just overall more dangerous than the average werewolf. And the story actually followed one of the younger, high-ranked werewolves learning to control their emotions.
That almost reminds me of the Underworld movies, how the original werewolves were so uncontrollable they couldn't even change back until one guy.
We can be slaves, but we can be
in the Vulcan mythos, they sometime just prior to Sorak's teachings, a group of them who either worshipped a bird god or just used a raptor as their symbol left the planet, and that's where the Romulans came from. It's it's kind of an interesting little bit of mythology, but what they did, they altered how Vulcans work as a race and as a character and all their mechanics for either a moment or an episode, and that's
my biggest thing with Strange New Worlds when it does with the Vulcans is when they brought his wife on. I'm like, wait a minute, they're not even supposed to be married yet, and then they're all like lovey-dovey, and I'm like, this is not how Vulcan relationships work.
Right.
It's with the four of those.
That's one of the things that makes a lot of us think that what they're doing is they're getting the scripts from the old shows, feeding them into an AI, and then using that instead of actually watching the episodes, because there's things that are communicated on screen that aren't in the script, like in Amok Time, that's when we're first introduced to Pring. The picture that Spock has of her is from when she was a little girl, so the implication there, of course, is that that's the last time they saw each other. Chapel didn't know anything about T'Pring. That's obvious from her facial expression when T'Pring is revealed to be his betrothed wife. But because those things are not in the script, they weren't stated, the show is ignoring them. And you can't do that. The presentation is visual. You have to take it all in, not just go by what's on the written page.
There was an episode in TOS where in the script, and I don't remember exactly which episode this was, you see everybody kind of, I think it was on Doomsday Machine. Yeah, I think it was Doomsday Machine, where they hear this, they're supposed to hear this high-pitched sound, and you see Uhura covering their ears and everything, but there's no sound. So they're all acting on the script as a sound, and someone forgot to put the sound in.
Interesting.
So just an interesting little nitpick. I always missed that one. I was surprised.
Yeah.
One of my personal favorite episodes that I've torn apart is the one with Geordi and Ro getting phased. And I'm like,
You know, again, that was such an entertaining episode that you're willing to overlook that and say, well, there's got to be something at work here that's preventing them from falling through the floor, because we've also seen a crewman fall through the floor and get killed that way in another episode. So,
yeah, I mean, you're seeing reflect, and this is the thing, Caddy. We've seen so many of these episodes. The reason why is there used to be a book that came out. It was Nitpicker's Guide to Star Trek, Nitpicker's Guide to Next Generation.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, and we bought these things, and we just look at them, and we were like, we weren't doing it to be shitty about it. It was just the fact that it was like, oh, I didn't see that. Let me go see if I can catch that. And then, that episode with Roe and LaForge, you're like, why am I seeing their reflection? Why do they have a shadow? And you're like, how did she get shot and didn't fall through that floor? I mean, there's just those little things, but the story, yes, is very well done. You've got to suspend some disbelief. That we could do with that episode and still love nitpicking the hell out of it. Because I love that episode.
Right. I mean, you know, it reminds me of Superman the movie, 1978. Right, Superman's supposed to be indestructible and everything, but when Christopher Reeve screams towards the end of the movie, the camera's pointed right down into his mouth, and you can see Christopher Reeve's fillings. And they cut away, but I mean, you're supposed to just kind of ignore that. It's
Just the idea that Superman needed fillings is very funny.
Yeah.
Like every
it's a blink and you'll miss it moment, but you do see it, and you know but you're so hopefully invested in the story at that point that when he screams, you're not looking for that. Obviously, it's something that probably very few people noticed back in the day, but with home video and our ability to go back and look at everything.
Like again, as I've stated, the idea that Superman was indestructible everywhere else except his teeth is very funny.
Yeah.
No, the way I'm looking at it is Superman hasn't one additional weakness, and that's sugary drinks.
One other thing I thought was hilarious, since you mentioned that hair is dead. So why does he have to have so why can't he just go to a barber?
Well, because you're talking about Superman, it's because his hair is still strong, even if it's dead.
Right.
Okay,
Remember Superman 4, Lex Luthor had to use bolt cutters to cut his hair from that weight? Remember?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Even in the comics, they had to come up with clever ways of enabling Clark Kent to shave in the morning.
Yeah, the comics, he looked in the mirror and uses heat vision to shave.
Yep.
And the cartoon,
That's one way. Another way is that he had a razor made out of Kryptonian metal, which kind of works, but not really. I mean, it's just one of those things that of course, you had people that would say, well, if he's burning his hair off with heat vision, especially human hair or humanoid hair, that really stinks.
Yeah,
he would stink up his apartment. But maybe you can then say, well, he's Kryptonian.
You just gotta let it go. Yeah, that little bit. Exactly. It's like, wait a minute, how does he? What does he do? Take two mirrors when he's cutting the back of his hair? Beams in the one and reflects in the back, and then reflects back on the back of his hair.
Yeah. Sorry, that is very funny. The idea that like Supermaster Rube Goldberg a way to fucking cut his hair.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and with a lot of superheroes, there's just certain questions that they're like an onion. The more you strip away and the layers, the less of an onion you have. So, there are certain questions that can't be asked, and every once in a while you'll get writers who didn't grow up with these characters, don't love these characters, and they start asking those questions, and that's called deconstruction. Or it's one facet of deconstruction, and they pat themselves on their back for their cleverness because no one ever thought of that. No, they did think of that. They just didn't. They just avoided the scenarios.
To go into something a little bit more disgusting. It reminds me of there was a thing on one of the old BBS boards a long time ago that probably made the rounds about Superman's ejaculate would kill Lois Lane if they ever tried to have a kid.
I Am Legend, Will Smith. Remember that deleted scene? He pushed that woman off. Boom, boom, right to the roof.
That wasn't I Am Legend. That was Hancock,
oh, sorry.
you idiot.
Hancock. Sorry, Hancock. Will Smith movie, sorry.
But I'm just like, I think
remember that Rocky? Hey, remember that Rocky movie when Rocky was in the jungle with that knife killing all those people?
But if I remember correctly, there was
Hey,
someone
remember
either
when the idiot, remember the idiot thinks the Earth is flat?
Hey,
Yeah, went right there. That's your surrender right there.
Call him when I see him.
there was like a response from someone who either worked on a Superman book or was working with DC, who was saying that, well, Superman has really good control of all of his muscles, including those muscles, so he can make it so it wouldn't kill her.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
sorry, but if I'm Lois Lane, I'd be like, I'm on top.
Yeah. Usually, it's in alternate reality stories where the two of them have children. I guess now that's become a mainstream thing. It's usually something that Superman does to himself to weaken him so that he doesn't hurt her during the act. But I mean, and then you have other stories where it was Wonder Woman instead, and she was tough enough to endure it. And to me has always been the better option anyway.
What was it in Fallen Kingdom?
Or there's that really horrible one, Darren, where it was him and Supergirl.
I don't know that one.
That's kind of creepy.
Oh, there was an Elseworld story where Superman and Supergirl ended up having a child together.
Yeah, but that wasn't the Kara Zor-El version. That was a different version that wasn't his cousin.
Oh, it wasn't? I thought it was.
Was that the clone?
It was with the Linda Danvers Peter David version of Supergirl, where she went to an alternate reality and ended up marrying Superman and having children with him. But she was not a Kryptonian even. So that version, the Superman's cousin version had been retired and sort of written out of continuity, and then they brought her back shortly after because they wanted to bring classic Supergirl back after the crisis, and so their replacement Supergirl, again, who was not his cousin, was not Kryptonian, had to be gotten rid of, so they just shunted her off into the multiverse, and so that fans wouldn't be upset when instead of killing her. But yeah,
my two favorite Elsewhere books, that's what DC calls them, was Superman Red Sun. I thought that was a very interesting take.
Yeah. But I'll tell you what was gross, and where Marvel went there was I think it was Old Man Logan, where the Hulk had children with She-Hulk, who is his cousin, and they've been corrupting the Hulk for many years in the comics, and it was just not par for the course. Yeah.
I didn't like
the Hillbilly Hulk gang, essentially.
Yeah, and the offspring, basically, She-Hulk was like trapped in an underground like bunker or whatever, couldn't get out, and she was just basically a Hulk making machine for the Hulk. And again, there's a reason why the Hulk is a hero, but they always want to seem to, in alternate futures or whatever, have him be just every dark aspect of humanity magnified. And if you're a Hulk fan, you hate it. So I hate it. But
I did not like Old Man Logan. I did not like the story at all. I was like, really, Mysterio? I'm like, are you serious?
I think. Go ahead.
Gangster Hulk.
And that was Mark Millar who did that one?
No,
I forgot who.
Are you talking about the Mr. Fix-It Las Vegas Hulk?
Yeah, the Gangster Hulk.
That was created by Peter David, and that was a very special period in the Hulk's existence where the world thought the Hulk was dead, and he had changed back to his gray version that Stanley had originally intended. Yeah, he had originally intended him to be gray, and he was a little bit smaller. He was also a lot smarter and a lot more. He had more of a Wolverine-like personality. He was like Ben Grimm on barbiturates, and so the world didn't know that this other monster was the Hulk, and he was taken in by a Las Vegas casino owner, and became his essentially his protection from the mob. And so the great part about that whole stretch of 2 years worth of stories in the Hulk comics was that the mob didn't know that this Mr. Fix-It guy was the Hulk, and so they'd send leg breakers over to try to rough up Berengetti. That was the name of his boss, and they kept getting knocked back, and so they kept hiring. They start hiring superhuman people, like the Absorbing Man and stuff, to take this guy out, and he keeps beating them, and then it's finally revealed, later that to everybody that he's the Hulk, and
I remember
it was
when.
fun time.
I'm sorry, Dan. One of the story arcs I remember that was really great was, and I remember reading the comic of the Hulk, where his mind is he's having a total freaking breakdown. You got Bruce Banner, you got Mr. Fix-It, and you've got the Hulk. And they are all battling in his mind. He's losing it. He's running around crazy, as Betty's there with him. And somebody's like, how do you deal with this? Like, one day at a time. And then, you get this spectacular ending of it where it's Bruce who takes both the Hulks down in his mind and goes, no, I'm the strongest.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden she opens the door and he's like, hi, honey, I'm home. And that's when he becomes the Professor Hulk, basically.
No, he became the merged Hulk at that point.
Yeah, the merged Hulk. Sorry, not Professor Hulk.
Is something different. Yeah.
Yeah, and that lasted for quite a while. And one of the things was Betty Ross was very upset about it, that he was a Hulk all the time now. And they played it in there.
It was a neat time because everyone had always assumed that the cure, what he was him not turning into the Hulk anymore. But in that story, the cure was just to integrate all the personalities, and so he became like this. He basically became a male version of She-Hulk. But he never changed back to normal. He always stayed, big and green. But yeah.
So since we're talking about the Hulk, and we were talking earlier about evil Hulk in the Old Man Logan, what is your opinion on Maestro?
Maestro is a good one-time story. He's not really a good recurring villain though. Maestro was good for Hulk Future Imperfect, the story that introduced him, but at the end he's killed, and then they decided to bring him back later in various ways. And I thought that was
that the really thin, skinny guy who looked like death?
No, the Maestro Hulk.
Go ahead, Darren.
The Maestro Hulk is the merged Hulk driven insane in the future, and he's old, but he's significantly more powerful because he created a nuclear war with gamma bombs, and there's more gamma radiation in the atmosphere, and he absorbed it and got even more powerful. But he's insane. He rules the world, and so the story goes that Rick Jones, the Hulk's original sidekick, finds Dr. Doom's time machine and uses it to bring the Hulk from our present into that future to defeat the Maestro. And he narrowly does it, but he has to use Doom's time machine to do it. How he defeats him is he gets the Maestro to stand on the time machine, because the way the time machine, Doom's time machine works is it's just this platform that you stand on. He gets him to stand on it, and he transports him back to the original gamma bomb explosion that created the Hulk in the first place. But he puts Maestro right next to the gamma bomb, so he's disintegrated.
Oh, interesting. What was that elsewhere that was set in the future? It's called something Kingdom. Was it Kingdom Come?
Kingdom Come was the DC story.
Yeah, that was DC.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Elsewhere story.
Yeah, the Elsewhere story there. I really enjoyed that one because in that one, at the very end of it, you got old man Bruce Wayne there, and he's in he's in that mechanical suit now, and Lois has passed, and basically Superman and Wonder Woman get together, and Clark's like, and Bruce is just like, all right, when's the baby due? And he's like, how did you know? I'm thinking, He's the world's greatest detective. How do you think he knows?
Yeah, he tells them how at the end. But no, the Kingdom Come was one of the watershed comics of the 1990s. That and the other one that Alex Ross painted was called Marvels for over at Marvel. But Kingdom Come, I think, was the better story.
Absolutely.
And it takes place a generation in the future where most of Superman's contemporaries have retired, and their children and grandchildren are now the superheroes, and they've turned on each other. You can't. They're acting like villains now. So Superman has to come out of retirement, and he re-recruits all of his old buddies, and they have to rein in the superhero population because, it's an
really
interesting.
tough.
Yeah, it's an interesting story. It's very well painted.
Sorry, it's just really like, okay, let's teach our dumbass kids a lesson.
Right. Well, it addresses a lot. Yeah, it addresses a lot of things because a lot of these superheroes they were having kids, but they didn't have time to raise them because they were too busy being superheroes. And so the new generations of superheroes became vicious and eliminated the supervillains. But then you can't, they get into fights with each other, and you can't tell the difference anymore. So it was interesting stuff.
It seems like every once in a while they have to do a story like that with Superman remaining the Paragon. And I think after Kingdom Come, didn't they do like Superman versus the Elite? And I don't know if that was it called something else in the actual comics, but that was what the animated movie was called.
Yeah,
and it was just like it's the same story as far as I was concerned. It was heroes acting like villains, and Superman having to teach them a lesson.
Yeah,
well, this is
go ahead. Sorry.
Well, one of the things is you gotta at least, in the sense, keep the character, the core of the person. Even though in Superman Red Son, even though he was raised by communism, at the core he's still pretty much himself. And I thought Lex Luthor just was done so well in that comic.
Sorry, I'm going to put even though he was raised by communism in my contextless quotes on one of my servers because that is very funny, just out of context.
Well, remember it was Soviet style communism, which is not.
Not the kind of communism,
You're still talking about Superman Red Son.
No,
I'm talking about Superman Red Son.
All right, guys, I got to take off. I will see you later. Thanks for having me.
Take care, bud.
All right, later, Darren.
Yeah, I'm talking about Superman Red Son.
Oh.
Like I said, the sentence of even though he was raised by communism is going to be going into my contextless quotes. I have a very similar.
What I'm saying is, at the core, he was still Superman.
Yeah, he was just raised under Russian law because when he was a kid, he's like, I can do this for his female friend. I forgot her name. It's like, you can do this for the country, the good of the country. He's like, yes, I can, for Mother Russia. It wasn't for himself and the people. It was for the country because it's Russia.
Well, and remember, he was still willing to kill a lot more, and sometimes he acted much like a Stalinist dictator. Because he was it's for the better good, or it's for the greater good, but what he was doing was still horrible stuff. His intentions may have been good, but his actions were not.
Yeah, did he kill Lenin?
The ending of it is just so fantastic when he says, why don't you put the world in glass? That note Lex Luthor gives him. I'm just like, oh my God. Man, they don't write comics like that anymore.
I always think that Lex Luthor is a good guy, but still does the villainous stuff, but he's doing the wrong thing for the right reasons.
Well, his thing is he knows he can't beat Superman straight up, but why is he so smart? I just gave it away. He's so freaking smart. He's very loved, and there's only so much Superman can do when it comes to Lex Luthor.
President Luthor.
There was a time. Remember, Lex Luthor was president.
Yeah. The funniest thing about in recent memory when it came to Lex Luthor being president was when he ran for president, he essentially gave LexCorp away to another person. I think it was Talia al Ghul. I can't remember. I could be wrong. Unfortunately, Darren's not here to correct me on that. But it was compared to like a certain recent president who didn't divest himself, and it was like even Lex Luthor divested himself when he became president.
No, it's very interesting how that aspect worked because I just thought that was interesting. I'm like, this has got to be eating Superman up. Because he's like, well, I can't go after the president of the United States. So it's like, just was an amazing storyline. A lot of those storylines we had in the 90s and 80s, 90s, and 2000s were really just a golden era for us.
The animation version of the Red Sun did actually a pretty good job.
Yes, they did.
I agree.
Yeah.
Why is it that the frickin' animated movies for DC are so good, but their live action stuff sucks?
Because the guys who do the animation are the same guys who did Batman the Animated Series, Superman the Animated Series, Justice League, and Justice League Unlimited.
Sorry, you start talking about Justice League, and because I do watch a lot of like story writing where it's like they'll analyze stuff like this. One of the things they've analyzed is the trope of the crouching moron, hidden badass. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about.
Sorry, Mrs. Vile returned to the car for a second to drop off her purchases.
Oh, that Mrs.
So I missed the last like 2 minutes of conversation. What were you talking about, sweetheart?
I was saying that you brought up Justice League, and because I watch a lot of stuff that is like analyzing stuff, and some of the stuff that they've analyzed is Justice League. And one of the tropes they were talking about one time was the crouching moron, hidden badass.
Yeah, I know that one.
And, the person that they used to talk about it was the Flash from Justice League.
Well, yeah, because even if you go back to a lot of the Justice League stuff, it turns out that the Flash is probably on par with Superman when it comes to actual strength and stuff, but due to his powers. And the fact that he's played by, or the actor portrays him as being kind of a dunce at times.
And because I think they brought up one episode, I've never actually seen Justice League. I want to see Justice League. That's the only difference here. With most of the shows you guys talk about, I have not seen them and I have no interest in seeing them. Justice League is I haven't seen it, but I want to see it.
You want to see the Snyder Cut?
Are you talking about the animated one? Hold on, sweetheart. Are you talking about the animated one, the DCAU?
No, I was talking about DCAU.
Because we did watch a majority of it, but when you were younger.
I don't know much about them.
Because you liked the Static Shock so much, we watched a bunch of the Justice League episodes because the ending for Static Shock and Batman Beyond was in Justice League.
Yeah, Virgil.
Oh yeah, that was so
I
happy.
really like Static Shock. I actually rewatched some of Static Shock recently.
You guys don't understand. We found it at the dollar store. The Static Shock DVD that had, I'd say, maybe a quarter of the episodes on it for the whole run. And Caddy would rewatch those episodes over and over and over again.
I never actually saw Static Shock.
I think there was only one series I was worse with that.
So, yeah, and the fact that he started out in Milestone Comics and then was imported over when DC bought him.
I don't know where's Garrett.
Oh man, are you talking about Milestone or Malibu?
Milestone, I believe.
Who bought Malibu?
Ow.
I don't know. It's quick to the Google Mobile. Someone who can look it up.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm too lazy.
I got sharp paint.
And you're on your phone.
I'm not on my computer and I'm on my phone. If I try to Google it, I'm gonna leave the live stream.
Yeah, the same here right now because I'm on the phone only because Mrs. Vile and I were crossing the border earlier.
So yeah, it'll be. I mean, Yeah, I mean the animated stuff has been generally overall good quality. They also didn't they do that? They did that. What was it? The '50s version, and it was Justice Society of America. But
World War II. Yeah, I saw that one, and they also did Crisis on Infinite Earths, Part 1, 2, and 3,
yeah,
which
Oh
totally
God!
rewrote the whole entire
Yeah, the
universe.
Tomorrowverse movies, I'm sorry, are probably some of the worst ones, except for Batman: The Long Halloween, the one I reviewed. So if you haven't watched it already, go back and watch my reviews on it because you might be coming in. Or it might be a good idea to rewatch some of the episodes soon. Hint,
I
hint, hint,
feel
hint.
sorry.
I
I feel
remember
sorry for Calendar Man. He chose wrong. He chose wrong.
I actually have the trade for that Long Halloween and then the one that comes after it. Because at the very end of Long Halloween, it's let's go to the circus. What? You guys don't get the
Say that
reference?
again.
I
Yeah,
said
Dick
at
Grayson.
the end of Long Halloween, one of the scenes is let's go to the circus.
Dick Grayson.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, the next book that came out, and now I'm drawing a blank on it, was basically the sequel to that, to Long Halloween, because it follows up with him getting Dick Grayson and taking him in.
I'm just sitting here. Despite the fact that I know more about like DC, and I'm just like, yeah, I should know this. I should have the ability to like comment on some of this, but at the same time, my brain's just like, no.
Yeah, it's not even 11 o'clock in the morning yet. That's why.
Well, let's put it this way: have you even watched my review on the Long Halloween?
Nope, and I have no interest to. Sorry, Dad.
Yeah, go watch it. Damn it.
She says she has no interest in it.
I don't care.
Yeah,
That's still one of my favorite episodes that I ever made because just to the fact that I had an actual person who has an IMDb page voicing a character on my channel.
So one thing I noticed, kind of go into Star Wars and Disney a little bit. Does anybody else notice on Twitter that acolyte nut shit is pretty much all but gone away?
You said
I don't
Disney.
know. I don't know. I didn't really watch a lot of the hate about it or praise about it. I just watched it when it came out, and I'm like, it's okay. It's not great. It's not bad. It's just okay.
Well,
I
that's
saw the first episode. I'm like, nope, I don't like this show. I give up on it. And I agree. I have not seen any more backlash about Acolyte Season 2. Acolyte Season 2. I guess we're never going to hear the story of Darth Plagueis the Wise.
Sorry,
Oh,
I'm
God,
just
God
like,
for that. No, we could hopefully get Darth Plagueis, but if it was on the acolyte, they'd have ruined it. Also, my problem was, and like I said, I didn't watch the whole show. I never even finished the first episode. I think I watched the final and maybe a little bit of another episode. But I was listening to like RK Outpost, Neurotic, Geeks and Gamers, and I was like, basically, and Critical Drinker, and I was like, basically, I already knew what was going on. And I'm like, God, this sounds boring. I'm glad you guys are suffering and not me.
I can't watch Nerdrotic anymore because every episode everything he did when I stopped watching it was about how much he hates everything that's coming out.
I cannot stand Gary.
I stopped. I actually got to talk to Gary before he blew up, and she got really. Huh?
So did I. I had a couple conversations with him. Then he went all nutso, and what the fuck, dude?
I think, I mean, I was on his channel. I'm sure Eliu was on his channel. MB?
Oh, no, I wasn't. Maybe I was once. I honestly, I can't remember, man. I haven't, it's been a long time. I mean, that was years ago.
Yeah, it was, again, before he blew up, but yeah, and it's to the point where as much as I'd like to grow my channel out, if he asked me to be back on, I probably wouldn't.
I would say fuck off. That would be my response.
I mean,
Well,
it's just
my favorite person to listen to when it comes to talking Star Wars is honestly Star Wars Theory. He's very grounded, very
Who the
based.
hell are y'all talking about?
Idiots.
no. Nerdrotic was a part of the community a while back, and
He got famous.
he basically started hating on what was it, Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Well, him and
And
Tupac kind of went into
Then
that.
Picard, then Strange New Worlds, then Discovery, then the Eterion, and all of a sudden he's raving the show to the Eterion. Like, what the fucking 180 flip flop there?
So
No,
essentially, he built his brand out of hating everything.
basically, yeah, his entire embodiment is now the trope of they changed it, now it sucks.
That's how he got quote unquote famous.
No,
Yeah.
what got him,
He's a hater.
what got him on the map was, what really got him on the map was when he was doing the live stream, and he had to change it mid because that's when we found out that Stan Lee had died, and then that pretty much blew up his channel. And then of course he linked up with Critical Drinker, RK Outpost, Geeks and Gamers, and they do their things. And they're you know, I like RK Outpost just because I like how eccentric he can be sometimes, and his videos are incredibly short. Geeks and Gamers and Nerdrotic Gary, they're hit or miss for me. I gotta look at the title.
I got him blocked.
Man,
I just unsubscribed
I
to
haven't
him.
seen anything from Doomcock in years because I got tired of all the fucking ranting. I'm like, dude, pick a new topic. I'm like, my God.
He has not been relevant in what, a year now?
I don't know. I haven't heard his name come. See, that was the biggest thing too that was driving me nuts, and I was going to bring this up before, but we got on that. Is they talk about journalism, and then you see all those what used to be geek sites, which are now, I mean, you can basically call them activist sites. Is they were the ones spreading all this. Oh, it's these toxic male fans. It's these guys. I mean, there was like at one point there was I saw it like, I don't know, Monday or something. They had like 700 like posts go out having everybody go and say, hey, we want you to demonetize these people. And then actually one person's comment was, no, we're not saying take the videos. No, we just don't want them to get monetized for it. I'm like, what's the difference? So I was like,
Well,
whatever.
Unless the person is unless the person is actually saying stuff that is either untrue or misleading or actually bigoted or racist or something along those lines, there's no reason to demonetize them.
And one of the things was too is, you know, one of the things I mean, look at
Sorry, NB. The link I posted, if I can share, this is everything that Geeks and Gamers and Nerdrotica talk about, that opposite of what they talk about. This is what they complain about. But I'm like, hey, this is facts, guys.
Yeah, one of the things I found about the Acolyte was I actually did a stitch on one of my TikToks with, what was her name? What was the lead actor in Acolyte? Amanda something.
I watched one episode. I didn't care afterwards, so I don't know who.
Yeah, I don't know who she is.
I'll be honest with you. Go ahead. I'll chime in afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, so she does like this 8-minute video rant, and she's doing her hair, and immediately she's like, well, as you know, the Acolyte's been canceled, and I can't say I'm surprised. Listen to the next phrase that comes out of her mouth. But I live in the bubble of my own reality. I'm like, boom, right there. Like,
wait, what's wrong with that? I'm confused.
I reject my reality and insert my own. How did I say that?
Well, basically,
it might be poorly worded, but it may not mean exactly that.
No, but you got to understand the tone and the. I mean, she really, I don't think, cares. The way she was acting, her nonverbals, her tones and inflections, she just wanted to get one last clout out because she was like, oh, yeah, we were told that we'd probably receive backlash because of diversity and all this. I'm like, well, geez, you poisoned the well already before your show even gets started. And like, the show was $180 million, took 4 years to make. You weren't even in 2 episodes of it, and it looked cheap.
Hey, Lord of the Rings,
I don't think it looked cheap. I don't think it looked cheap. I think it actually looked pretty good for the most part. And I got to give props to, because this is what I was going to say earlier. The two, there was a little girl that played the younger version of her, or the little girls. I don't know if there was 2 of them. They did a freaking fantastic job as acting, and finding kid actors that could do that good of a job is really hard to come by in Hollywood.
I'll give you
Because
credit.
so many young actors are just so crap.
I'll give you credit. I'll give you that. I will give you that. But Amanda Stenberg played 2 characters almost basically the same way. You couldn't really tell who was who. And I was just like, when I was watching, I was thinking, man, I remember watching Orphan Black. By the way, if you've never seen this show, it's a great show.
It's been years.
Huh?
It's been years since I've seen it.
Yeah, but the main actress or actor who was in She-Hulk, she did a phenomenal job because she's playing all the clones of herself. And they all have different personalities and stuff. And you just see her go from one to the other, and they just seamlessly make it all go together with proper editing. And she plays every personality, every accent great. That's one of the reasons I was pissed. I thought in She-Hulk, I'm like, she must have just wanted a payday because honestly, she was way too talented for that fucking show.
You know, that reminds me when I was at Fan Expo a couple years ago, and Danielle Panabaker from The Flash was there, and Carlos Valdez, since Grant Gustin backed out. I asked Danielle, what did you think about when your character was killed off several times? You had multiple characters. And immediately she raised the mic and said, relieved. And Carlos was like, what? Really? Why? She's like, because I got to try something new.
Speaking of Orphan Black, hold on. Yeah. Speaking of Orphan Black, I got to do a little bit of promotion. If you want season 5, I have it on the eBay store.
It's a great show. I mean, it is absolutely a great show. All these different personalities she plays. She plays a character who plays a cop, and then she starts out pretending to be the cop, not knowing anything about being a cop. And then this is when she starts realizing, because she wants to find out why is there someone who looks exactly like her, and find out there's a whole lot of them out there. There's a German one who was raised in an orphanage. There's one who was going through what you want to call it anymore? Transition. I'm just going to use that term.
But I'm gonna head out. I'm gonna go make some food because I'm hungry.
Hi, hungry. I'm dead.
You're hungry?
I'm hungry. I'm gonna go make some food. I'm gonna go peel potatoes.
All right. I'm hungry. I want food. I'm gonna go peel potatoes. I'm dead.
I hate you.
I love you too.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care, kid.
Later, kid.
So one of the things was not only just she could change the accents and change the hairstyles and everything, but she could act the mannerisms of each character that you believed she was that character at that moment. And that was really...
NB, have you seen the Chucky series?
No, I don't know what streaming service it's on.
I don't know offhand, but
I think it was on Max, right?
Okay, Brad Dourif's daughter plays a character named Nika, and ironically, she also plays her dad's character, Charles Lee Ray, at one point. But that's under prosthesis, and he's still providing the voice. She's just doing the acting.
Oh, okay.
But okay, within the context of the story, Chucky has been able to transplant his personality into her character of Nika. so they now have a split personality between Nika and Chucky. And at one point, Brad Dourif's daughter is trying to pretend to be the Chucky personality to Jennifer Tilly. So she's basically playing herself, playing her dad, playing herself, playing her dad.
Holy shit.
Okay.
So when you think about that, watching that scene is freaking magical.
I'm just a dude playing another dude playing a dude playing another dude. Gotcha. Gotcha.
Well, we can have great story. So there was a show that I did watch because
You have playing something. I know you.
no. So anyway,
Mrs. Cardenas is talking.
yeah, Mrs.
Yeah,
Cardenas.
she's back in the car, but I was trying to mute it so she wouldn't be on because I know she doesn't like to be on the stream.
So one of the shows I watched, I don't know, back in the summer or something in the background was I pulled up my VPN. I was looking at what I could find on, other countries. And found this show called Wolfpack. And I'm like, it's got Sarah Michelle Gellar in it. Sorry, guys. Trying to swallow here. Oh, God.
Never heard of the show.
No, you wouldn't.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
on. No, you wouldn't. It was on MTV. It got canceled. I was not surprised it got canceled. I was really just watching it to kill time. I was doing other things. Now the concept was actually pretty good. That's what kind of got me to watch the season. Storyline is these brother and sister are found during a massive fire, and something happens up on that fire hill. Only one person makes it out. I can't remember the guy's name, but anyway, he picks up these two wolf cubs, and then he takes them home. The next thing he knows, they turn into humans.
Sorry, hang on. I want to hear the weather report. I got to go to the park this afternoon. Hang on, okay?
Yeah. And I mean, each werewolf had their own individual kind of power. Like one had really good, I guess, smell. The other one had excellent hearing. When the moon came up, they'd be stronger, or more. Their senses would be more alert. Well, another fire happens, and freaking werewolf comes out and bites a few people, and they turn into werewolves, or kind of the werewolves they're doing in this one. And I was like, this isn't a bad premise, but as I'm watching it, I'm like, okay, I get the brother is gay, and I get he's on drugs, but do we have to show him in every scene when he's in the bar making out with somebody? I'm just like, you're just overtly doing it. Nobody else had a romance really going in this series. And this guy
you explained it right there when you said it was on MTV.
Okay. Yeah. I was like, I'm like sitting there watching this, and I'm like, okay, I get it. But I was just kind of like, my God. And some of the other stuff they did in the show is just like Sarah Michelle Gellar's character. Nobody's going to see it anyway. It turns out she's the werewolf who killed all the people up top. The two cubs are hers. And the werewolf out there is her other son who's been gone crazy because of the fire from whatever years ago. And the problem is she's supposed to be there investigating the fire, and she's a fire marshal or something like that. And I'm like, why are you at all these crime scenes that have nothing to do with this fire? How are you able to? I'm like, at the point in the story, I was kind of like, how is she still even here? I'm like, this investigation should have been wrapped up by now. Of course, she's dragging it out, but I'm just like, nobody gets suspicious. I'm like, why is the fire marshal going out with everybody? Why is she asking questions she shouldn't be asking? So I'm not surprised it got canceled. I mean, I think they had a good idea on paper, but the execution was bad.
I gotta go to the park today. It's comedy day in the park, and it's gonna be about 60 wind chill, about 60 wind, about 22 miles an hour. I gotta hold that tent down today. Damn.
Also, Mrs. Vile wants to go shopping, and I got to drive, so I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream. No, don't worry about it. Yeah.
All
so, which
Women
one
go
should I end with this
shopping.
time, and not Gangnam Style or Klingon Style because we did that last week.
What are our choices? You got all kinds
We got-
of them.
Not all of them are on. I've uploaded to StreamYards, but I have the Klingon opera, the war song, the victory song,
War song.
which the Dahar song, but I'm not going to play that one too often because that one gets dinged by CBS all the time. Doctor sings the Sunshine song with 7 of 9, Life Forms with Data, the Prison song,
War song.
with
War
and
song.
then the war song.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
war song.
All right.
More singing, more voices.
Hail the Klingons, hoorah!
Koi, Keles, Claude.
Koi, Puk, Meku, Yakbal, Makbal, Teshui, Svema, Sumeru, Marcha, Sumana, and Hakapchu, the day in the Makapro, Ku, Bakma, Stevens, Enzo, Kista, Bampo, Madino, Marek, Masutaku, Mamerko, Masutak, Mao.
Love that.
And
Love that
you-
episode. From DS9.
And because Caddy was on here, we'll do Vile Style. All right. I'll see you next week, folks.
Later, weirdo. Oh wait, that's your line.
He's a weirdo, all right. So later, weirdos.
Peace and long life.